and she swore with more vehemence than usual as she reached out to shut it off. She flicked on the lamp next to her bed and yawned widely as she massaged the back of her neck. Moisha was back in her bed, hunkered down on her pillow and purring loudly. No wonder her neck was stiff. He'd stolen her favorite pillow again. Hannah sighed deeply and began the painful process of mentally preparing herself for the 1,000,001 things she had to do today. It had been a late night. Mike Kingston, the supervisor of detectives at the Winnetka County Sheriff's Station, had taken her to a party at the Lake Eden Inn, and she hadn't gotten home until after midnight. "Move it, Moisha." Hannah roused the disreputable tomcat she'd rescued from the streets and reclaimed her pillow. Then she slipped her feet into the fur-lined moccasins by the side of her bed and made her way to the kitchen. Coffee was a necessity at this hour of the morning, and she'd set the timer on her coffee maker so that it would be ready when she woke up. It was December in Minnesota, and the morning sky was masquerading as night. Daybreak wouldn't come for another hour and a half. Hannah had no sooner switched on the banks of fluorescent tubes that gave her gleaming white kitchen the luminescence of an operating room than the phone rang. There was no one else who'd call this early, and Hannah groaned as she reached for the receiver. "Good morning, Mother." Of course, Dolores Swensen wanted to know all about her date with Mike. Hannah gave her a brief description as she poured her first cup of coffee and gulped it, scalding hot. What was a little pain compared to the blessings of caffeine? Once she'd reported that Mike had driven her out to the Lake Eden Inn. They'd enjoyed a buffet dinner with the contestants who'd arrived for the Hartland Flour dessert bake-off, listened to the after-dinner speech by Clayton Hart, the owner of Hartland Flour, and gone back to her shop to mix up the cookie dough for today's baking. There was nothing else to say. "That's it, Mother. Mike was really nice, and I had a good time." Hannah tucked the phone between her shoulder and her ear and grabbed the broom to sweep up the dirt and shards of pottery from the catnip pot. There were no leaves left. Moisha had scarfed up every one. Then she opened a new box of Kitty Crunchies for Moisha, who was insistently and none too gently rubbing against her ankles, and answered her mother's question. "No, Mother. Mike didn't mention marriage. The subject's never come up." Hannah rolled her eyes as she dumped dry cat food into the Garfield ceramic bowl she'd found at Helping Hands, Lake Eden's thrift shop. Dolores believed that a woman who was almost 30 and still unmarried just wasn't trying hard enough. Hannah disagreed, in principle, and especially in her own case. She didn't want to get married at this time in her life. Actually, she wasn't sure she ever wanted to marry. "Look, Mother," Hannah made a conscious effort to keep her tone pleasant, "there's nothing wrong with being single. I'm running a successful business. I own my own condo, and I have plenty of friends. Can you hold on a second? I have to get Moisha some water." Hannah placed the receiver on the counter and turned on the faucet, filling Moisha's water bowl to the brim. She set it down next to his food bowl and whispered an aside to him. "She'll start in on the baby thing next. I'd better head her off at the pass." "It's not like I'm dying to have children, Mother." Hannah settled the phone against her ear again. "I've got Tracy, and I see her almost every day. Between the shop and catering, I wouldn't have time to be a good mother anyway." Dolores launched into her predictable argument, and Hannah half listened while she poured herself a second cup of coffee. It was nothing new. She'd heard it all before. Hannah's niece, Tracy, couldn't possibly take the place of Hannah's own child. Hannah didn't know what she was missing, and there was no joy like holding your own baby in your arms. When Dolores got to the part about ticking biological clocks, Hannah glanced up at her own kitchen clock, shaped like an apple and another acquisition from Helping Hands. It was time to end the conversation, and that wouldn't be easy. Dolores didn't like to be stopped short in the middle of one of her lectures. "I've got to run, Mother. I promised to be at the school in less than an hour." Just saying that she was in a hurry didn't sway Dolores from her purpose.